First off, I want to ask, and prepare now because this is probably a total stretch of a question, but
All right.
bear with me. Um, Jurassic World Dominion is the third part of the Jurassic World trilogy. You were previously slated to direct the third Star Wars film. Do you think there is any, I guess, correlation? Were there any sort of things left undone from the Star Wars that you wanted to bring here? Anything like that? Is there any kind of shared DNA, I guess, other than the fact that
Um,
they're threequels?
well, I mean, in a lot of ways, my time on that film let me go to school in a way of how to satisfyingly, wrap up something that means so much to so many people. I think that these myths that we were presented with in the 80s and 70s specifically have been so indelible and have captured the imaginations of just generation after generation, and they mean so much to people. And so to really understand the weight and the power of it, which I think I did, but you also are constantly learning and understanding more about what people are going to need in order to really feel like what they love has been respected. And so, I couldn't spend enough time thinking about it over, and it's been 5 years of my life that I've been making third installments in a trilogy that millions of people care deeply about.
In that, actually, I mean, with something like this, that there is, as you say, as you've said it yourself, like you're wrapping up something that cares so deep, that people care so deeply about. I mean, at what point, I guess, do you kind of, I mean, is there ever a fear that you're being too precious? Is there ever a fear of like, I've got to satisfy everyone, but then at the same time, I've got to tell a story that I actually give a shit about and that I want to see? I mean, I guess my question is which, I guess, which side of it do you listen to more? Which side of the argument do you listen to more?
I have to listen to all of it all the time.
Mm,
And I think I have to constantly be aware of, holding the thing I love in my hands, but not too tight.
mm,
And making sure that I look at it from the perspective of, in a case of our franchise, a young kid who watched Jurassic World as their introduction to the
mm.
franchise, and then a kid, adult like me who was introduced to Jurassic Park as their childhood experience with this franchise, and just know that oftentimes the thing you see when you're a kid is going to be what affects you the most, and in a lot of ways it might not be possible to affect you in the same way as an adult retelling a story that is so indelible for you in your lifetime. So I'm conscious of all of it, and I think every decision I make is hopefully landing on the right side for that particular you know question at any given
Mm.
moment.
Yeah. It's funny you actually mentioned there, like, that the film can be significant for people who's, as in the significance, who's somebody who's seen it, whatever it was in Jurassic World or Jurassic Park. I'm wondering your own experience. What was your own experience coming to Jurassic Park? I mean, when did you see it? What do you remember about it?
Yeah, I saw it when I was 16, and so I was right at that point where I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, and yet I was still a kid. And what I remember most, I saw it alone in a theater because my friend was the projectionist, and it was midnight the night before. And
Nice.
watching, a certain amount of it as a young filmmaker who was looking at the craft and the form and all of the things that we do, and then slowly the movie stripped all that away from me. And by the time I got to the end, I was like 9. And so that's my hope with a movie like this, because I know a lot of people, especially people who make film or think about story, they'll come to this, watching it as filmmakers. And my goal is by the time you get to the end, we've stripped all that away, and you're a kid again.
Yeah, yeah, because what I loved about this, I have to say, I enjoyed a lot was the fact that I could tell that you had been watching a lot of films leading up to it. Like, for example, the Malta sequence was like, oh, he was watching Born Ultimatum. I've got that. And then, like, the part when it's in Italy, that felt much more like something like James Cameron's Aliens.
Mm.
I'm wondering, I mean, what films, I guess, do you watch films in pre-production? Do you watch films during post-production? What kind of films were on your mind as you were working on this?
It's funny. I didn't watch any of those films, but those films are
Wow.
well. But they're. I mean, I've seen them all. Like I'm just saying,
Sure. Yeah.
they're in our blood at this point.
Yeah, of
Like we
course. Yeah.
know them so well, and so I didn't have to watch Aliens for the 15th time. To be influenced by Cameron or any of the even Bond films. Like there's just so many. There's so many things that we know as being associated with different franchises. What excited me about this, and there's a little Indiana Jones in this too.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that both as viewers and as filmmakers, I feel like I acknowledge in this movie that we live on an earth in which certain stories have embedded themselves into our hearts and our brains in a way that may last long after you and I are gone. And I'm just operating, within that and trying to tell a story that hopefully everybody can come to and celebrate what this is and what this has been together.
Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about, I mean, in terms of, the length of the film, how much, I mean, was there anything, I guess, was there anything left on the cutting room floor that you really wanted to put in, but you didn't get to put in?
There are several things. Yeah, I mean, the first 5 minutes of the movie, we are available for everyone to watch now. We released a prologue, which is the beginning of the film, and you can see the arc and how that lands at the end. Several other scenes that I really love. There's an amazing scene with Campbell Scott and Mamadou Ache that I love. Just the two of them. I mean, these are just amazing actors, and anytime that I can get two great actors in a room and let them go at each other, that's often my favorite part of the movie. But hopefully we'll get to see those someday.
Yeah. In terms of your own, I guess, your own kind of career and what you're going to be doing next, I mean, now that you've, I suppose, wrapped up Jurassic World, I mean, would you see yourself continuing on with franchise filmmaking? Do you want to go back to smaller films, something like Safety Not Guaranteed? I mean, do you have anything mapped out, or are you just trying to get this through and then figure it out afterwards?
Well, I mean, my hope is that it's possible to make something that isn't based on something that we all know that is new, but isn't necessarily the size of Safety Not Guaranteed. I do want to tell original stories, and hopefully I can find a way to do that in our current climate.
Anything specific you can tell us about, or nothing?
Well, it's not a secret. I really want to tell a story about our first civilization, about Atlantis that fell. We had an opportunity to do this once before, and we had technology and all of the infrastructure that we have now, and then it all collapsed because we are all living in a very small sliver of time in the context of this Earth's history, and it's a little bit what this film's about.
Actually, on that, I mean, beyond, I suppose, production issues, I mean, did the pandemic kind of influence you in terms of writing? Did it influence you in terms of directing? Was there any kind of aspects of that impacted this?
Well, if you've seen the film, I think it's very clear.
Yeah,
very clear. Yes, and it's a movie that is a lot of ways about what we were feeling at the time that we made it. And obviously, we came in specifically with Ellie Sattler's character and with her role, and wanting to make sure we, respected her profession as a paleobotanist. Paleobotanist. I don't know why I switched that out. And really understand her value in this story, and why understanding how, plants and ecology changing as a result of man's effect on the planet would be a great concern to her, and how genetic power is a much larger topic than just dinosaurs, and that was important to all of us.
Yeah. In terms of, one thing that I found very interesting with film was that, the way that, and I don't want to give this away and stuff, but like, it kind of felt like everyone, all the supporting kind of cast, or like, I guess like the sort of the one-off kind of characters or whatever, everyone kind of seemed resigned to the fact that, yeah, the world's going to end basically. And everyone's just like, well, that's a kind of it now. I mean, I suppose that was intentional. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of, that is a sort of almost a reflection of our own time almost,
It was a pervasive feeling at the,
yeah.
It was a pervasive feeling at the moment, for sure.
Yeah. I guess like I suppose my question is how do you try to put that into a film that kids are going to watch? And as you say, you want them, like 9-year-olds and stuff are going to be watching. How do you kind of How do you do that without scaring the crap out of them, basically?
Well, hopefully by ending on in a spirit of hope.
Sure,
And I
yeah.
think that, I have kids, and they've all had to grow up in a time when they're hearing adults talk about, could this be it for us, in a way that's probably really scary. And I think we do end with a notion of hope, and just the suggestion that we can get through this if we do it together. And if we respect the planet that we're on, and this living system that we are lucky enough to be able to be in. Ultimately, even if young people see that as just an acknowledgement for what they're feeling, then hopefully it's something that they'll connect with.
In terms of, I guess, the actual cast themselves, I mean, like you were talking about Campbell, you were talking about Mamadou. I'm wondering, I mean, were there any, I guess, were there not that they weren't great, they were all great, but I'm wondering, I mean, were there any people you had in mind for casting that didn't work out that you would have loved to have seen, or were you pretty much, you got everyone you wanted?
I did get everyone I wanted. I was very, very lucky in that, honestly, all of those roles, I just asked one person if they would come play the role, and that actor came and joined us. Mamadou, DeWanda Wise. There were no auditions. There were no other candidates. I felt like they really were these characters. Deishan Lockman, another great example of somebody who, I think especially kids will really remember these characters, and hopefully we'll see a lot of, Kayla Watts at Halloween this year.
Yeah. I mean, her jacket alone, like, I mean, her whole costume was like so cool. Like, I felt it actually kind of, and that's why I kind of started with the Star Wars question, because it felt like she just walked off the set of like The Empire Strikes Back or something like that. Her whole outfit was so cool.
I'd wear that jacket. I couldn't pull it off, but
Yeah.
I'd try it for a minute, like alone.
Sure. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. And it's like, no, I'm not cool enough. Take it off. I don't
No,
like it.
I don't know.
I feel awful. I guess my final question is, if you wanted, I guess, if you wanted people to come away from this with one feeling or one kind of theme or thought in their head, what do you think that would be?
Um, Hopefully, it's like a real sense of satisfaction that we have treated this story and these characters with the respect that they deserve, and that we've told a story that is full of new and full of adventure and full of things you haven't seen before. But as you start to marinate in it and it starts to exist, hopefully, as all movies do in our culture for a while, people look back and see how much thought and care and heart was put into making it feel complete.
Cool. Great stuff. Okay. So I'm getting the wrap up there. Thanks so much, Colin.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
What is that?
Biggest carnivore the world has ever seen.
Run!
See? Not so bad.